the grid beneath their feet. I never told a soul who I was when I moved to Willow Creek Lane. Not out of secrecy, but exhaustion. 30 years wrestling with municipal pipelines, flood systems, and utility grids across 3 states had left me craving silence. So, when I found the cedar-sided bungalow at the edge of Maple Grove Estetisa gated slice of suburban Illinois with a porch that caught the morning light and a creek whispering out back, I signed the papers without a second thought. Maple Grove prided itself on manicured lawns and HOA newsletters with fancy fonts, but I wasn't here for their potlucks. I wanted peace. Little did I know, peace would come at a price, and I'd be the one to collect. It was mid-April when I rolled in with a trailer of furniture and my mutt, Baxter. Neighbors nodded politely, some didn't bother. That suited me fine. My days were spent sanding the deck, painting the mailbox, and clearing brush around an old water meter by the drive. The air smelled of pine, and the nights were cool. Everything was quiet until it wasn't. It started with a note taped to my door, typed in crisp Arial. Dear resident, your grass exceeds the height allowed per Maple Grove guidelines, section 3C12. Correct by Thursday to avoid citation. Community Standards Committee. I read it in my work boots, sawdust on my jeans, while Baxter chased a chipmunk. The grass was barely 5 inches, thanks to a wet week. I'd planned to mow that night. I crumpled the note and tossed it. The next day, I met Diane Pritchard. She marched up my walk like she owned the county, blonde hair in a severe bob, sunglasses perched like a tiara, HOA badge pinned to her sweater. You're the new owner? She asked, her smile as warm as a tax audit. I wiped my hands on a rag. That's me. Your grass, she said, tilting her head. We have standards. It affects property values. I glanced at the neighbor's peeling shutters and dandelion-choked lawn. I'll mow tonight, I said. She sniffed. And that fence out back rusted. We have guidelines. It's original, I replied. Solid, just weathered. I can send you the compliance binder, she offered. No need, I said. I'm not in your HOA. Her smile cracked. Excuse me. Lot 142, outside the covenant line. Separate deed. I checked before I bought. She blinked. But the mailbox is regulation. Previous owner's choice, not a contract. Diane straightened. We ask neighbors to cooperate with community standards. A request, I said, folding my arms, not a rule. She didn't like that. Muttering about tone and cooperation, she retreated to her golf cart, tires crunching gravel like a threat. I mowed the grass, painted the fence black, and figured that was the end. I was wrong. A week later, the water stopped. No warning, just a dry sputter from the faucet. I checked the main valve open. No leaks in the lines. The water company reported no outages. Then it hit me. This house, older than the subdivision, sat on a private well system, modernized a decade ago. The developer had sold the local water grid to a utility firm that went bankrupt. At auction, I bought it pipes, pumps, easements, all part of a low-yield investment I'd nearly forgotten. I didn't just own my water. I owned their water. Every sprinkler, every fountain in Maple Grove ran through my grid. Diane had no idea who she'd crossed. I found the shut-off valve locked with a cheap brass padlock and a laminated tag. Do not tamper. HOA infrastructure compliance. Diane's handwriting screamed from the marker. This wasn't just petty, it was illegal. Trespass, tampering, sabotage. I didn't touch the lock. I photographed it, documented the valve, and drove to the county records office. By noon, I had a cease and desist order and a formal complaint filed against the HOA. Back home, 3 board members waited by the valve. Tom Reynolds, the vice chair, looked nervous. There's an issue, he said, eyeing my paperwork. You bet there is, I said, handing him the order. Diane shut off my water. That's my grid. Another member, Ellen, bristled. A misunderstanding, Diane thought. She acted without authority, I cut in. On a system I own. We didn't know it was private, Ellen mumbled. And yet you let her cut me off. Tom rubbed his temples. Can we talk privately? We walked to the creek. Karen's out of line, he admitted. Residents complained about water pressure. She thought you were tinkering. I was maintaining my system, I said. You're pulling water from pipes I paid to upgrade. He nodded. What now? 24 hours, I said. Restore my service, remove the lock, acknowledge my ownership publicly. Or I shut the grid down. His eyes widened. The whole subdivision? My right, I said. Maintenance, safety, review. Push me, and I pushed back. He didn't argue. That night, the lock was gone, and my water flowed. But Diane wasn't done, and neither was I. The next morning, I checked the service bunkera concrete vault hidden by holly bushes. The smart meters hummed, stamped with my name, Elliott Utility Company, private property. Maple Grove had tapped my grid for years, clueless. I mapped every pipe, valve, and regulator feeding their lawns. They had no backup. I emailed Tom. Attached is the ownership map for Elliott Utility Grid 38. All water in Maple Grove runs through my system. I'll continue service if you acknowledge ownership and agree to a usage contract. Response by Monday. That evening, Diane pounded on my door. You can't hold us hostage, she hissed, waving my email. I don't own the neighborhood, I said. Just the pipes under it. You're no utility company, she snapped. Just an old man with a grudge. I held out the easement agreement. This says I control the grid. Signed by the county, 2015, reaffirmed 2022. I can manage, repair, or suspend service. She slapped the papers away. You think you've won? The board's just scared. They should be, I said. They've got till Monday. She stormed off, fear flickering in her eyes. That night, Tom called. Diane came by? She did. We'll respond by Monday, he said. I hung up and sat by the creek. The grids hum my only company. I hadn't wanted this fight, but I was ready. Monday brought a call from a lawyer, Morgan Blake, representing the HOA. Your email implies a threat to suspend service, she said. I'll shut down for safety if needed, I replied. My right. You disrupt an entire community? Diane disrupted mine first. Trespass, sabotage, harassment. I could sue, but I'm offering peace. Acknowledge my grid, sign a usage agreement, and we're done. I'll relay that, she said. Click. I prepped for war. I logged valve statuses, photographed a minor crack in a vault, and noted a regulator vibration enough to justify a legal shutdown. I printed 24 placards. Utility maintenance notice, Elliott Utility, Grid 38. Water service suspended for 48 hours for safety testing. J. Elliott, custodian. I posted them at every entrance and mailbox. That evening, I turned the main valve, slowing the flow to a trickle. By dawn, Maple Grove was chaos. Sprinklers failed, showers ran cold, and the HOA's chat exploded. Why's the water off? Karen's lawn's dead. Tom texted. They're panicking. Good, I thought. Let them feel it. Tuesday, the board called a meeting. I arrived at the community center, maps and permits in hand. The room was packed, Diane at the center, sunglasses on her head like armor. Tom introduced me. Mr. Elliott will explain the water issue. I unrolled the map. This is your grid. Every pipe, every valve mine. I've maintained it quietly for years, until Diane shut my water off. Diane leapt up. You can't claim our water. I didn't, I said. You used mine without asking. Then you trespassed and tampered. You were non-compliant, she barked. I was mowing my lawn. I shot back. You issued a fake citation and cut my service. The crowd went silent. Tom spoke. The documents are real. Elliott owns the grid. Diane turned red. He can't shut us off. I did, I said. Legally. For safety. Sign a usage agreement, and it stops. I handed out a contract. Acknowledge my ownership, follow maintenance protocols, pay a small annual fee. Ellen scanned it. Fair, she said. Diane muttered. He's a bully with pipes. No, I said. I'm a man you ignored. The vote was unanimous except Diane. She stormed out. By evening, she'd resigned, her house listed for sale. I restored the water Wednesday, mailing formal notices on embossed cardstock. Service restored post-inspection. Thank you for your patience. J. Elliott. Sprinklers hissed, and someone cheered. But the HOA was shaken. Residents demanded answers. Why hadn't they known? Why did Diane act alone? A week later, I attended a public meeting. Tom announced reforms, a new charter limiting board power, mandatory legal reviews for utility actions, and annual infrastructure audits. I spoke. I didn't come to fight. But when power's unchecked, someone pays. You've got a second chance. Don't waste it. The crowd applauded. A kid gave me a thumbs up. Ellen called me the grid. I laughed. It fit. Days later, Tom brought the signed contract. Ownership recognized, access restricted, a maintenance fee set, and community education mandated. You changed us, he said. You got lazy, I replied. Now you're awake. Fall came. The HOA hosted a fair. I went, Baxter in tow. A teen, Jake, handed me a flyer. Infrastructure Matters with J. Elliott. You said people should know, he grinned. I nodded. I'll bring snacks. By winter, Maple Grove was different, open, curious. A plaque arrived, honoring me as the first resident to safeguard the people. I hung it in my shed, by the valve. Diane sent a letter. I've moved. I pause now, asking if my choices are fair. You were right. Power needs checks. D. I filed it away, labeled resolved. The creek flows cleaner now. The grid hums steady. I didn't just own pipes, I built trust. What's your take? Was my shutdown justice or overreach? Comment below. How do you handle bullies like Diane? Share your stand on power and fairness. Because when the grid's yours, you decide what flows.